Hey, welcome back to Town Line Garage. Today we're working on the bottoms of the doors on our S10 here. More cutting, grinding, welding, and grinding. Hope you stick around. Get your eyeballs in here on what we got going on. They're really not too horrible. You know, there could be a little bit of fiberglass work done there. But the inside is where it gets tricky. And you know, really what needs to be replaced is just this bottom lip and just a little bit around the bottom. I, at one point in time, was going to just schmuck this up with some, you know, filler type fiberglass stuff. But then, you know, it's past the point of return. I'm gonna at least pull this off, and you know, we're gonna have to do Bondo on the other side. Hopefully, try and keep that down to a minimal. We'll see what we can do. Take a peek at the passenger side here. Well, let's start on the outside. Yeah, a little bit worse than the driver's. This one, really, there's no way around. You know, putting a new skin there. Got a hole all the way through up there. And then, you know, that fun stuff. There won't be as much to take off over here, I'll say that. Yeah. What my plan is here is to come in with the grinder and try and leave the inner door alone and just grind off the bottom of the outer all the way over to this corner, and then slip the new one up on the outside, and then just cut them both at the same time on the outside. So when I get this level out, I'll have that big old honking piece flopping around up here, and I'll clamp that up and I'll just come back and slice. I'm going to try and do both the doors at the same time so I can bounce around with the welder a little bit easier and keep everything just a little bit cooler. Well, things are moving along like I thought they would. We got that bottom cut out. You can hear it's all tinny. It's kind of strange. This is an area of vehicle I haven't really dug into too much before. I've done body panels up and down, but kind of just fudged the door bottoms in the past. That's what I was going to do here, but not today. So I got the bottom split. My plan is still, I think, going to work. But I'm going to have to do kind of a pre-cut first, and that's fine because I'm going to need some of this material up here to do a step backer. I'm only going to go, I got a rough spot here, a little bit here, so I'm probably going to go similar to what we did on the cab corners on the other side. I'm going to come right below about where that trim will start. I can always go a little bit higher. You can see I got the body line here, so I could really go all the way up to here. I don't really want to cut that high up. If I can stay kind of underneath that shadow, this roll, I won't have to be up in people's face with my repairs. So what I'm going to do here is, I know I got a bunch of material on my panel. I'm going to take an initial rough cut across here and peel off my piece. That's going to do a couple things for me. One, let me see inside, make sure that I'm high enough to get outside the rust zone. And then I'm going to be able to trim the material off the edge here along with my rough cut. So say I'm going to come in somewhere around here, and this edge will go away with it. That'll allow me to do more of a slip fit because these are sized the same as this. I can't really go over the top of this. If I did, it would be a poor fit from end to end on my end panel. So I'm going to come in right around here, measure off of like this tape line or something, and keep it kind of straight. And then with that, I'll trim this edge. I'll do the same with my panel, only I'm going to come from the body line and leave, you know, probably up around in here on the panel. And then on the panel, if this needs to flare out a little bit, I can flare that out by hand, and then when I go wrap it back around, I can always tweak that back into place without jockeying up my door line, at least I think. So I'm going to do that to both sides. I'm going to trim my door right around here, trim my repair panel up here, and then with my extra on my repair panel, I'm going to cut a little strip, you know, probably, I don't know, no more than an inch, inch and a half, and then I'll tack that on the back side to give this backer, because this is one of the longest panels on the rocker on the vehicle, and that'll help kind of keep things straight, give a little bit more of a heat sink on the back, and just make welding this thing up that much easier. So I'm going to mark myself a line and get that cut out. Alright, well, we got those doors cut out, just getting ready to mock up the panels here. I have a significant amount I'm going to cut out of here. Still planning on about a 1-inch overlap. Using the old grease pencil. Works real nice on this sheet metal. So what I'm shooting for is still about a 1-inch or so overlap. Give me enough breathing room there. Not sure how much the old panel here I'm gonna. There's a little area here on both sides where I really should probably snip that out and weld just a little tang on the bottom. I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. It's glossy down there. I shot it with some rust fix. We'll get these panels chopped up tonight and stare at it a bit, and then kind of make up my mind a little more in the morning. Alright, well, I didn't goof this up too bad. It's kind of doing right now what I wanted it to do, is that this lug is short enough now where I can kind of shove that panel over the top of the old one. These corners here are getting splayed out a little bit. I'll be able to push those back into place. But what this will let me do is stick some shims under here, figure out the gap close to what I had on the old ones before I hacked them out, and then I'll come in and squeeze that together with some vice grips, make sure everything's fitting up good. I'll clean up my burrs a bit just so I get a good fitment, and then I'll come down and, you know, split this gap here and make one more slice down the door. It does give me 3 cuts per door, but it'll save me a lot of grinding if I were to just you know, measure and kind of freehand those out. So I think it's gonna work all right. I'm gonna slip both of these on there so I can stare at it a bit in the morning before I make my final cut. Got some good amount of scrap material in the back here. I'm gonna cut some strips out of that tomorrow, and then I'll clamp that behind and give myself a little bit of a step and a weld backer in there. So coming right along. Not as much time today as what I'd hoped, but we're getting there. Well, we had to make an executive decision to slap the outside of the door back on, or should we try and clean up the inside that was looking like something chewed it away. We're gonna go somewhere in between and just fix the really badder spots. Mostly because we've got sheet metal and probably not enough seam sealer to close the gaps that we'd be patching up. We'll pop your eyeballs in here and take a peek. I got these guys here about ready to go in. Before I slip it up on there, I'm going to try and fold this over a little bit more. Having a hard time keeping this line straight because I don't have a nice break or press to kind of flatten that back out on. So I got my overlap panel stacked on in here. They'll fit up in there real nice and give me a good backer. All but a little bit of the area. I left that open for this brace in here. But I got to looking, and you know, some of these areas are just way too far gone. I was hoping I would be able to just tuck this guy over there, and you know, because this bottom piece gets folded up and over, that would just kind of wrap up and just hide all the bad stuff there. But a couple of these spots are getting up into that radius. I already trimmed that away and over here. Plus we do have all the extra sheet metal from our body panel here. So we got the old toenail clippers out just because I'm getting a little tired of working with the death wheel all the time, and I don't have anything better to use. So you know, our piece is coming out looking like Rumpelstiltskin. We take her on over. Come on over to the railroad tie and give her a little tappy tap tap. Clean her up, and she flattens right out. I'm gonna stop right at that radius so it hopefully keeps from warping too much. I'm sure the bottom inside section is going to look wavier than Lake in November, but at least she'll be solid-ish. So we'll get that guy up in there, tack her in. I'm going to do another piece here, another piece here, and then that piece down there a little bit too. I'm going to leave as much as what I can, just so I have some starting point of what angle that's supposed to be at. I'm going to leave the gaps for this drainage here. Those are important because water eventually will get down in here at some point. You got to let her out. Alright, well, we just got this little piece to snip it in here. Not looking too shabby down the edge. It'll be a lot better than what it was. And we got one other section on the other side. A little better shape here. Looking good, looking good. So we're just gonna do this little guy here and then just clear out this. So I think I got that piece somewhere around here. I'll look around for about 2 hours to figure out where that went. But we'll tack this guy in there. We're gonna finish forming the bottoms of the patch panels, and then we'll be about ready to weld her up. Alright, well, we got our last couple pieces cut out here for the inner doors. Get the paint off of here, get that cut out, get that guy welded in. Slink on over to the other side here. One piece, cutting a little bit deeper into here because we got this weight reduction. Just went up to the vise and took one of my scraps and bent her in kind of a 90. Got her tapped out kind of flat. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll hook under that edge and, you know, stiffen that up, get that cancer out of there. So we're going to get these cut out, get them tacked in there, and then start our cleanup work to see if we can get this kind of, you know, straightish. We come up back here, can't forget to got a heck of a burr. We're going to have to sneak in there and try not to explode half the grinding wheels we got around here. But we got to clean this edge up on the back because we got that backer panel. It's got to fit. Same thing up here. We got this goo foam stuff in there we got to clean out just up to here. and get to it. I'll get the level out and kind of shoot the eyeballs down the old side before I put the skin on. She's a little wavy here and there, but better than what it was. I do use some small vice grips to hold on to my work while I'm tacking it up. There's a little bit of a radius here that I'll work into it as we go. I like to just look at the, find my best alignment point, look a little bit ahead of where I'm working, but if I got a spot like up in this corner with some pretty good fitment, I'll get that tacked and then I'll kind of walk it down because she's easy enough to bend. A little bit of a bow in it already. Get her tacked in, and before I do that, I'm going to hook the straight edge over here just to make sure I'm not going to shoot out too far. Oh, let's see. Let that guy up. Eyeballing, because the whole thing's got to be inboard at the edge anyway. Yeah, that should be fine. Good enough. Oh, got a little burr there. Watch your eyes. Oh, well then. Now we'll just adjust as needed. More tacks in it. You probably caught that, didn't you? I'll get the whelpers out. Should have got them out anyway. In case you don't know what whelpers are, welding pliers, whelpers name brand. If you don't have them and you have a MIG welder, go get you some. They're worthwhile. I am using some really small weld wire here. I've got her set up with 023 or 025 maybe. A flux cord wire would work fine too, just a little bit more cleanup on the bodywork. Smaller diameter wire will take a little bit less heat to pinch off, and will allow you to do a smaller tack weld if that's what you want to go after. Usually got to change out your drive rolls, but you can get away with the same liner. So you'll want a drive roll and a new contact tip if you go to the Farmer Fleet and get you some new weld wire with the different diameter. A lot of folks know that already, but you never know. You never know who. I don't. You never know. Never know. Gotta be careful right here to leave myself the thickness of this material. I don't want to bring this all the way out here, or I'll have quite a conundrum. Grounding issue sounds like. I'll let that cool down a bit. Much sturdier than what it was. Scooch. Oh, will my ground reach? Will my ground reach? Let's find out. Probably not. Check the fitment here. Oh, that's about as good as that's gonna get. Angle fits great. There's a little bit of a wash from this drain. It's kind of washing into the rest of the panel. That's a little bit hard to duplicate. So another piece that'll really never be seen again, but we want the welding to be reasonable. That really is not bad, considering how quick this was tossed in here. We'll tack it and keep moving. Can't complain there. Whoa. Wow. Of course. Come on. Pop a tip? I don't ever pop a tip on this thing. Oh. The thin weld wire I'm using, you do have to lean into the tacks just a little bit more, just because if you barely hit it, there's just not much weld there. Which is nice for keeping the heat out of it, but when you want a good solid tack to hold the panel in, you gotta lean in just a little bit more. little less coffee would, you know, stabilize the weld torch. Weld earlier in the morning when it's just kicking in. I got a little bit of a burr holding this edge up now. I should have probably walked this down from one end to the next. Sure is a lot sturdier just with them tacks in there. Need a little extra muscle to pull that edge together. Got myself a nice little pattern here. So I got a stagger. I'm putting way more heat into this than I should. If this was a main body panel, I'd back off and get the air nozzle out and spray her down, but I'm not too worried about messing up this panel too bad. I'm gonna take one more round, and then I'll bounce back to the other side and give that a couple tacks and finish her up. Take a shot of where we're at before we fill it in. It's not pretty. It's gonna get all ground down. There's enough there to hold those together. Again, a little bit more time taken for this weld when we get to that, but I'm gonna come back around here and finish tacking that up. I'll come into this side and keep peppering this around. I was pretty happy with how this one was fitting because I don't have a break or anything here, so I might end up smudging some, filler up on the bottom. We'll see how the back side ends up looking. But we'll finish welding these up there, and at least that door will have a firm bottom to it. Well, struggling a little bit here. This might be an area where you just, stare at the TV and holler at it like if you're watching a bad sports team, but working on getting this bottom lip curled under, shipped to my door. Had a nice 90 in it, and as I'm washing it in to get that crimp on the bottom, this guy's looking pretty rough. She's getting all bowed. My plan is take the old sheet metal vice grips and kind of walk that along with about a 50% overlap, and I'm kind of doing that with a lot of downward pressure still. That's about as best I can do. Mixing that with dead blow hammer and a body hammer. I haven't mentioned already, this is the first very bottom edge of a door that I've done. Getting these pinch seams to look like factory is not something I have to practice in. I'm going to do as good as what I can with what I got, and that's what we're going to have. It'll still be better than the cancer that was hanging down there. I'm just going to try and retain as much of that 90-degree crimp as what I had. There's no doubt that there's going to be some mud in the bottom of this thing, but as long as the whole truck isn't just waving at you when you go down the road, it'll be all right. This truck, this front stays at a 90, so I can always tighten that up a little bit once it's mounted, but the back has the same edge as the bottom. So it's, if you look on the side of the door, it is a nice machined clinched edge. It is a very tight radius. I don't know how close I'm going to get to that. Luckily I'm at the bottom of the door, so most that you'll see is this last 3-4 inches. Yeah, we'll see what we can do once we get it on there. Getting close. Believe it or not, as much of a banana as she looked before. Flipped her over, made sure this edge was hanging off the $2 table we're working off of. Come by with the old, not so much live blow mallet, and she flattened back out pretty good. It wouldn't pass the level test over there, but it's going to take some finesse in the car no matter what. Definitely losing the sharp lip that was on there. Again, just doing the best I can do. I'm sure this heavy radius wasn't on the door before. Once I get it in the vehicle, I'll have I'll put a dolly on one side and give her some additional tapping, maybe flip her around a bit. I'll do what I can. What I was thinking, you know, I haven't done this before, but I know a little bit about metal forming, is I wanted to start this out of the car so I could do a little bit of an overbend, knowing that the car has a very tight crimp on it. Not having the right tools hasn't helped too much. So I got down about a 4 mil gap here. I'm just hesitant to crease this on my table here without knowing where it's at in the truck. As bouncy and rough as this is here, I almost think I'd be better just to have it all put together, and as the seam sealer's tacking up, just go ahead and drive these home and try and not have the bottom of the door be all wavy. That's just my thought right now. I'm gonna go around a couple more times, see what we can do. My wood table could be hurting me a little bit with all that bounce, but I guess I could just put it on the mount, or on the, maybe I should try the anvil. Just afraid I'm gonna get a whole bunch of lines in the side of this panel. Well, we're learning on the flies today how to get these things to fit up. I got both sides ready to scooch on there. She's straighter-ish than what it was. I'm gonna be using a bit of force to get it on the door anyway. Did end up squeezing that down a wee bit tighter than what it was. We got the banger base out there. I did go a little too far on that. I had to open it back up a bit. You know, got the woodworking tools out. Kind of had to do a little tappy tap back in there, open that back up. So it was all wavy. Now it's less wavy than what it was. It's getting late, so just trying to get things figured out. I did have a test fit really snug. Probably should have came in here and went whoosh, up over with another sheet, but what not to do. I shouldn't have worried about this edge here and went and ground on that a little too hard. I had to come back with a little extra weld in my copper block on the back because I had a thin spot there. You know, trying to get things to look pretty and shiny like all those you know, fancy TV shows. You know, you end up with the knife edge if things weren't flat. If you spend too much time on a high spot, you'll burn right through the metal. So we learn and move on. We're gonna give this one last shot, hopefully one last shot of test fit. If it does work, I think what I'm gonna do, just to keep from rattling, is I think I might schmuck some seam sealer on this bare metal here. It's a direct to metal type product, and then if I don't get something totally tight, that way I shouldn't get a rattle. Not gonna worry about paint too much on the inside here because there's holes on the door on the inside that once this is welded up, I'm just gonna kind of go in there and shoot what I can down inside, and then, you know, before the door panels go on, after the paint's dry, I'll probably, you know, put some sheep sweat lanolin stuff in that cavity. Alright, well, we got this thing clamped up. Gonna get some tacks in it, and then we'll have to come back from the back side with a dolly and finish the crimp along the bottom. Both bottom lips only held on with seam sealer. That's the way it was from the factory. That's what we're doing now. Anywho, try to get this tacked in here without too much. Similar to the other side where there's the brace, the upper sheet really wants to run proud. I'm having a hard time with that because you really had a high spot on the other side. I had to come back in with some finesse, and I don't like how it turned out, so I'm trying to kind of get this stuff to work with me here. Still looking ahead to make sure where I'm trying to go is staying flush. Like my sheets are hitting together here. I might have to come back with the death wheel and get that pinch out of there. Barely catching here. I'm going to see if I can nip it with the wheel. I don't want that shrinking after I weld it, puckering on me. You got enough of that going out on the other side. I don't want to do it again. Try not to add waves at this point. Well, here's where we're wrapping things up. This is passenger side. Not too fond of the length of these. They're a little shorter than what they probably should be. So there's the tacks. There's a wrinkle. I can see, you know, got a low spot there, got a high spot back here. I'll end up coming in, you know, the grinder, hammer, making sure that I don't have anything that's higher than where this body line needs to be. But got a wee bit of welding to do yet. That's kind of, yep. Got her pinched down as good as she's gonna get. Remember, I do have to come back in and replace this rocker here. But more of the same to do here. More welding, more grinding. Swing back over to the driver's side and so did do a little grinding there. Trying to be careful not to get down, and you know, it's real easy, especially if you got an offset here, which I do. This side is much worse than the other. But, you know, you don't do this all the time. You can't be master of all trades. This is, you know, different kind of finesse than just burning together a trailer or something else. Bottom of that door. So, it's still better than being rusty. That's where we're at. Well, that's going to wrap her up for this time. We got some more welding and grinding to do on the passenger side yet, but it's more of the same. And we'll give you an update on where that landed when we get back into the rocker on that side. I'm really excited to be wrapping up the metalwork on the cab, at least, once I get that rocker and cab mount done. The stuff to do on the box is all, you know, still good metal yet, so I'm not cutting out any rust there. So making progress. Wish it was faster, but plucking away when we can. Appreciate y'all watching. Till next time, keep her between the ditches. Adios.